Perfect. Now I have your number. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Robbie Kramer. You're listening to the Leverage Podcast, where we discuss using your social skills to hack dating, travel, finding your dream job, and becoming a complete man.
I don't know. I thought it would be cool to talk about your boat stuff, but I don't know if you talk about that publicly.
Yeah, man, I can talk about it.
Have you told your audience about it?
Yeah, kind of. Probably haven't talked about it in a while, so I should bring it back up.
And isn't that like a huge part of your revenue, or no?
It used to be. I was doing those trips like almost every month, and I'd bring guys out and they'd participate and whatnot. But then I kind of got a little bit burned out from doing them. Just too many drugs and too many crazy fucking run-ins with different sort of problems. Like, it's crazy the shit that can go wrong on those trips, like girls crashing ATVs, almost dying, getting raided by the fucking Coast Guard in the south of France. There's all sorts of shit, but I learned so much about social dynamics in the process of just going on trips, being surrounded by like 15 to 20 of the craziest party girls, managing all of those factors.
Dude, that just sounds like you're managing an unmanageable group of people.
Oh yeah, it's a circus, and it's totally unmanageable. If someone doesn't get seriously injured or die, you can say the trip was a success. And even though it was bringing in some revenue overall, it wasn't like a business model that was like profitable long term.
Yeah, that makes sense. You have really high expenses. Yeah,
because a trip would cost on average, depending what you do, if we did Maldives where we rent this yacht, we did that trip like 4 or 5 times, just the yacht alone was 40 or 50K. Then you got to pay for flights, which is $1,000 per flight. So that's 20 flights. So, you get up into like the 80,000, 100,000 euro range pretty fast. And even if you have, 5 dudes dropping 25 or 30 G's, you're barely covering expenses. So,
yeah, I just thought it was such an interesting example of like how to provide value for everyone in a way that's like so crazy. It's like you put it together. So you're handling this like nightmare of logistics essentially. And then you have like the photographer who brings the girls, right? Or you, I guess, as well. And then you have the guys who want to come for the girls and they finance the trip. They bring their money. And it's just like you put and then the yacht and then the experience, and you like put all those things together and wrap it in a nice bow. And it's like, I just thought that was such a cool, like entrepreneurial activity, even though it obviously is not the best, most profitable.
It's definitely not the most profitable thing. I mean, it's just not scalable.
But it's fun.
But it's so fucking fun. It's
not everything has to be for the end
exactly
money result, right?
Exactly. And I have some buddies who kind of ran with the idea. I don't know if you've seen the Tilted brand. Liam and Alex, the guys from the Natural Lifestyle.
Oh, is that what they're doing now?
Yeah. So originally I got them involved in the, and me and my buddy Vitaly were doing these trips, not the YouTube Vitaly, a different Vitaly, but they're actually friends as well. And, he was the one originally doing all this crazy shit out here in Kiev. I met him at a random party, and he invited me to his birthday party after we hung out a few times. So I'm like, all right, where's the birthday party? He's like, it's in southwestern Ukraine in the mountains. I'm renting a spa with like 20 bedrooms, 120 girls are coming, and like, 20 guys. I'm like, oh, all right, sounds good. How do we get there? He's like, well, I rented a train, an old Soviet train, the last 3 cars, and I've got like a Ukrainian folk band coming to like play in the train. So
Dude, that was hilarious.
Show up, we take this train. It's a 12-hour ride to this spa. And then it was basically just like a ridiculous party / orgies happening in different rooms and just nonsense.
You over time you've gotten desensitized to that, right? And you kind of like you realize that it's just like a fun thing to do, but then you have a girlfriend now, right?
Yeah, I'm in a monogamous relationship now, which shocks everybody. but yeah, after a while, like anything can get boring and old.
Yeah.
And I had so many like amazing experiences, checked all that shit off the bucket list, 100 times over, did a threesome on a commercial airliner, just like ridiculous shit that you like, you
Yeah.
don't even think to do.
And you realize it's excitement, but it's not fulfillment, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it's fun and it's crazy and it's great for like storytelling. It's almost better in a sense. I realized after a while, I was like, I'm getting more fulfillment by doing this shit and then talking about it with other dudes than I'm actually like doing it. Like if there weren't other dudes I could talk about it with, would I even do it? And I'm like, probably not. So that's kind of a weird, stupid reason to do it.
So do you think you're going to have kids someday?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was kind of one of the reasons why I was getting kind of sick of that lifestyle as well. I'm 38 and, I don't want to wait too long to have kids. I don't want to be like the grandpa / dad. So I figure by the time I'm like in my early 40s, would be a good time to start. And, my parents were in a monogamous relationship, but they've been in a monogamous relationship ever since, the last 41 years. Same with my grandparents, all my aunts and uncles. No cheating, no like, just a really good family with like a solid structure. And, at first I thought like, oh yeah, I can do the open shit and the swinging relationships. And then the more I kind of just watched those relationships deteriorate, I was like, I think for it to have the best chance and to have like, the best quality of life in your later years, I think monogamy is probably the most consistent way to go to have like sustained happiness. You're not going to have all the crazy fun and all that shit, but if you've had that, you don't feel like you're missing out on it as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I think it's so important for young guys to learn game is that you should get all that out of your system so that you can like you don't have to, you're not going to be a zombie chasing mirages, which is what most people are, right? They're like, I'll be happy when I get the money. I'll be happy when I have the crazy experiences. You've already done all that. And then you can move on or depart from that. But did you feel like your hormones changed when you hit a certain age and you just started noticing that you were like able to think more clearly without it all being about sex?
Good question. I don't know. I don't think so. I've always had like a pretty high sex drive. And I don't know. I mean, when I was partying a lot, taking so much crazy shit, I would take Viagra all the time just to be able to, function and fulfill all the girls at the party. It's that didn't change anything either. I don't know. I guess one thing I've noticed though, it's like the amount of partying you do and the amount of casual sex you have kind of makes you want to do it more. It like fuels it more. It's like if I party and take ecstasy and fuck, it makes me want to do it again the next day and the next day and the next day. But if I take a week off, that craving or desire like goes back down to normal pretty fast.
I think they call it the chaser effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like after you blow a load, you're like, fuck, I need to come again. I need to like fuck another girl.
Right. And when you're in those party environments, like, and the ratio is that stacked in your favor, you've got a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 ratio. And like the girls just they're like, please fuck me. Like, it's the opposite dynamic. Whereas most guys experience life, which is like, I'm lucky to get some pussy or some ass, but like here it's, you've got to literally fuck to keep people happy. And if you don't, they won't come back to parties.
Yeah, I've the way I've dealt with that is just not coming. So I'll fuck the girl, but I'll literally tell her I can't come, and then I just abstain for it because I've been in the same situation, and it's like, and I like that situation's better because you don't have to worry about things like no fap. You don't have to even consider that because your thing is just I'm having sex with real women, which is what your genes want. Dude, I have 2 questions for you. I have time for 2 more questions.
Yeah. Shoot.
So the other one was, what were the qualities of your girlfriend that made you choose her over the other girls that you've been with?
Good question. So after this was like probably around a year ago when I think I did the last party. I was always attracted to like the most outgoing, fun, kind of craziest girls. But I had a series of like, it would always end up in a situation where I would either avoid the situation because I knew I was going to get like the shit kicked out of me, meaning like they would just basically like, whatever, lose interest because of some other sort of partying thing. So I was, the better I got, almost the more sort of narcissistic girls I attracted. And obviously there's a direct correlation between narcissistic girls and hot girls, right? The hotter they are, the more crazy they are, like the less fucks they give, as you were mentioning on that scale, right? They're both craving adventures and they have a low sense of,
Yeah, they don't care about you, pretty
they
much.
don't care, exactly. So I kept on, fucking a lot of those girls, but then falling in love with them and then being like, all right, Robbie, you know better. Don't fall in love with this girl. She's bad news. This is going to end in sort of like me over investing and then her doing something to piss me off. And then like some crazy experience. Like I had just too many of those back to back to back. And the worst one culminated at Burning Man in like 2017. And I had this girl and, we were having threesomes together and having all this fun. And then she went and like fucked my friend, like in my RV. And it's like, and at one point I was like, well, what do I expect? I was doing that shit to her as well. Like I was fucking her friends and just doing crazy shit. But I had this kind of double standard where it's like, oh, it's okay if I'm doing it because I'm the guy, which is just totally retarded. And then I was watching my buddy that I mentioned, Vitaly, who was, he would do the same shit every time. He would find the hottest girl, he'd fall in love with her, and then she would do something heinous in his mind, like have sex with like a young model dude, and it would like totally break him. Like, dude, what do you expect? Like, we're finding just the most crazy party girls out there. Like, you can't expect one of these girls to be stable and like a good quality, trustable girlfriend. So I realized that I needed to kind of remove myself from that environment to find a girl who was, someone that you could actually like count on as a partner. And it's funny because I met my girlfriend actually through that environment in a roundabout way. She had gone, well, she didn't know what the trips were like. She was invited on a different trip. There's this thing called a Beauty Pass or You Princess, which is basically like if you're a hot girl, they have Beauty Pass all over the US. You Princess is just the one for Ukraine. If you're a beautiful girl, you can sign up for this thing. Basically, like restaurants will allow you to come and eat almost for free. You can get like gym passes and it's all for publicity for the restaurant. They get, you post on Instagram that you're going there, they give you free check, free bill. So she kind of found out about the party scene that I was throwing through that environment. She went to a party, but she was like, this isn't really my speed. She doesn't drink, she doesn't do any drugs. And she left the party. And then one of the girls that was her friend was at a different party that I was at, and she was really young. She was, I think she was 17 when she came to the party, and she was just kind of like overwhelmed by the whole thing. And there were all these guys trying to bang her. And I'm like, just hang out with me. Like, I'm not going to try to bang you. Like, I don't need to bang. Like, and she was shocked because I was one of the first guys that she met that wasn't just like a total, wanted to fuck everyone sort of thing. And we developed a friendship, and she was a really smart girl. And I allowed her to like, help me with this t-shirt brand. And like, she was working for me, and I met my girlfriend through her. And to go back to your question, what was really like attracted to her, what I was really attracted to her was she had that fun, crazy sort of party girl fun energy, but without all the drama, because she didn't do drugs, because she didn't drink. She wasn't looking for crazy experiences, but she was like all of the benefits without all the downsides you typically get.
And did you find that the girls that were more like that had messed up family structures? And does your girlfriend have like a great family behind her?
She does. She has a very loving family. She's close with both of her parents. They're separated or they're divorced, I think. But they're still like friendly, and she no daddy issues or anything like that. That's the biggest thing you see with a lot of these crazy party girls is daddy issues. Either they don't know their dad.
And it's funny because the girls with the daddy issues typically are the kinkiest in bed.
Totally.
But that's just a trade-off.
Yeah.
And the other question I had for you was, what does the future for you look like? Are you going to be living in Ukraine? Are you going to get your citizenship there, or are you going to move back to the US, or what are you planning for the future?
So I have my residence permit here. I've been here for about 3 years, and
I thought you were there way longer. I thought you were there like a decade or something. I don't know.
No, just since like 2016 was the first time. 2015 I came as a tourist, and then I kept coming back, and then 2018 I moved here.
Okay.
So it's I love Ukraine. I think I'll probably spend most summers here, and I'd probably like to spend the rest of the year, or probably 6 months, half and half, in the U.S. I love San Diego. I love Southern California, and I hate the Ukrainian winter. Like this year, we went to Mexico and we were in Tulum and Playa del Carmen for 4 months to avoid the Ukrainian winter because my girlfriend doesn't have a visa. So in order to get her a visa, either we have to get married or have to try another route, like a business H-1B visa, which I've been looking into. But I think that's probably the plan, is to kind of split my time between both. I'm sure she'll want to, spend some time in Ukraine, and I love it here. And I've got other business here. I've like a real estate investment portfolio here. I have a bunch of Airbnbs, and I own some office space. And I think Kiev, as far as like cities go, it's tough to beat, like especially for an American, and especially during like now with the pandemic and the fact that people can work remotely. If you have a job for like, a big tech company, and you no longer have to show up to the office, you can move to Ukraine and you can get residency just by being like a tech worker. They've got the special deal for tech guys. Your cost of living here is like half or maybe a third of what it is in the big US cities. Like it's a third cheaper to live here than it is in New York. So if you're
the food's really good there too.
Food's good. And it's just a great, so as I mentioned earlier, like if you suck with girls and you're using it as a way to like kind of hack that, you're still going to run into problems. Like Ukrainian girls are not easy. They're hot, but if you have no game,
and they're super smart,
really smart, they're going to know you're a sex tourist, and you might have better luck. You might get a hotter girl here than you would in the US, but it's not going to be the girl you really want. It'll be just like a sugar baby who's looking for a rich dude, and you might have a hot girl, but you're not going to have like a loving relationship. She's not going to, see you for
dude. That shit makes me cringe. It's like it's not real attraction or real love. It's just like fake attraction to get something. Oh
yeah. It's an arrangement, And so you see that a lot. Like you see that stereotype, like the gross old dude with the young hot girl, and there's like, that's not like a real thing. But he's paying the bills and she's giving up the pussy. So they're both, I guess, content with that, but I don't think either are actually happy. So you can't, so if you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to move to Ukraine and hack my dating problems, like that doesn't work. But if you already have, some game and you want to hack your finances, it's a really good move for that. Because especially since you can get, if you spend more than 11 months outside of the US, or you have like a lease or residence, you don't pay taxes on your first 100K of federal income. So that's a pretty big savings as well. So
yeah, I forget what the exemption that's called, but if you look up like 330-day tax thing, you'll find it.
Earned income exclusion or exemption. And
do you find that there's less, like, are you able to make good local friends there, or do you mostly make like friends that are like United States guys? It's like when I was in Colombia, dude, it was very tough to make friends with local guys because I didn't really have much in common with them. Like I'm running a business and they are like, I don't know, like delivering stuff on Rappi,
right,
on their scooters or whatever, It's like, it was an app that you could use to like get deliveries and delivery food and stuff. So
yeah, that you're way less likely to meet sort of the local guys that might be on your level. But I've met those guys through. So most of my friends when I came were like other expats, other Americans or Canadians, or dudes here for kind of the same reason. Um, and the cool thing is when you travel and you do that, you tend to meet a lot of like-minded dudes. And those are great wingmen, great business partners, great friends. But I also met a lot of cool local guys through some of the more like my business partner and main guy I mentioned, Vitaly. He's an American, but he's a Ukrainian who went to college in the U.S. and served in the army. But he's a Ukrainian, like, he's a local and he's lived here forever. So his network of local guys are like cool, well-connected, good dudes. So I have got a pretty good balance 50-50 of like cool local guys and cool international guys. But it took a while to build that. It took about a year and a half kind of build that social circle.
And I think one other downside of dating outside the US is just at least for me, I love a girl that just gets my sense of humor, my wit, and my references. And I feel like unless I meet a girl that's like grew up in the US somewhat, she won't get it. Like this one girl I'm seeing, she's Lithuanian born until she was like 9 and then moved to the US. So she has like this really nice balance of like Eastern European like femininity and family values mixed with like she gets like all my jokes, all my references, and she's funny as fuck and like witty. What is your take on that?
Yeah, no, that's awesome to find a girl like that. Yeah, there's definitely something that can be like a cultural mismatch a bit, and the Eastern European culture, or if you want to call it Ukrainian or Russian, like the humor is quite different.
Dude,
Like
I love Russian. I don't know what it is about it, but I love Russian's humor.
Russian
You know
humor is
that
great. They
there's
typically
a
don't
YouTube
like
channel.
American humor as much though. So that's like my girlfriend. She's like, I hate your stupid American humor, and she gives me shit about that. But their humor is hilarious. Like she's just like such a ball buster, and just constantly like giving people shit and making fun of people, which I love. I think that's great. But if I try
Have
to
you seen
show
this
her,
channel 1420? It's called 1420. It's like this video is Russian women about their life goals, like 1.6 million views. Dude, it's just so fascinating. Like I think Eastern Europe is like a really solid spot, right? I I don't know about the difference between Russia and Ukraine. Sorry to cut you off, by the way, but it's
no,
just
go on.
like they're smart girls. It's very like racially homogenous to a certain extent, which allows for like good cultural trust. The women are smart. They're intelligent. They're like at least in this Russian video, they seem really funny.
They are, yeah.
And they have good family values, and they're actually entrepreneurial focused. Like Russia is the #3 country for female entrepreneurship in the world, even though the girls are super feminine, super family values as well, which for me is like, wow.
Yeah, it's a full package with the girls here, which is, because you'll find, just like you said, you can find that girl who's like, she's hot, she's also driven, she's funny, she's witty, she's entrepreneurial. And there's a lot of girls over here like that, which is, in the US, you've got, I tend to either find girls that were, they might be really driven, but that's because, they like just had like a shitty childhood or something, or for whatever reason, or you found I met a ton of American girls who are basically just like, you call them Japs, like Jewish American princesses, just spoiled girls that, that have that entitled attitude. Like, in the US, almost every girl thinks she deserves Prince Charming. That's kind of the culture. And over here in Eastern Europe, like, you don't have that. You don't have that sense of entitlement. And the dudes on average just don't take care of themselves. They don't have the same sort of drive. They're a lot lazier because there's so many beautiful girls, and they can kind of afford to be. So it definitely, when you come over, if you're a cool dude with his shit together, you're way more competitive in some of these other dating markets in Eastern Europe. So I think that's changing a bit. I've noticed the local guys are kind of stepping it up quite a bit, and becoming, more like the Western dudes. So, but now is like a sweet spot, I think, where you can still come over here and enjoy that.
Yeah, dude, this guy's channel's blown up. Kevin Samuels. He's like this like black dude who always wears a suit, and he always talks about like that kind of stuff. It's like what are women offering? Because they want the world, right?
Yeah.
But what are they offering? And like you said, it's not just like we're not restricted to one country, right? You can essentially date anywhere and learn about a place. So yeah, for you, you've made that decision already, right? You're gonna put a baby in your Ukrainian girlfriend. So
Yeah. I mean, it's cool too. I mean, one thing I told myself when I moved here is I'm like, when I started doing the trips, and the trips were kind of hubbed out of Kiev. Like most of the girls we would bring were from Ukraine. I brought some American girls along and Western Europeans, or, I had a ton of, girls from all over. I also had model houses in LA, New York, Miami. So we had a huge, we had girls from everywhere, but the trips were most fun with the mostly Ukrainian girls. A lot of the time we bring American girls, or we bring, other girls, and they didn't quite vibe with all the Ukrainian girls because of the language barrier or whatever. Usually they loved them, but we just found it was, best to kind of do the trips out of here. And my partner was here. So I'm like, why am I living in the US when I have this like amazing social circle over there? Like, what's keeping me from just moving there? I'm like, well, really just my dog, how to get my dog over there. So I turned him into a fake service dog, an emotional support dog, and figured out which airlines I could get him over there with, because I was put him in cargo. And then I just kind of moved here, not expecting really to stay, but fell in love with the culture. And I'm like, I'm going to live here until I learn fucking Russian. Because one of the big things for me was like, I learned Spanish growing up, but I sucked at it. I felt like language was just something I couldn't get. And I'm like, no, fuck that. Even if it's hard, I'm gonna do it, and I'm not moving away from, Eastern Europe until I'm fluent in Russian. So,
dude, it's that gun to the head mindset. That's what gets people results. It's like, I'm gonna figure this shit out, or I'm gonna fucking die.
Totally.
And you realize it's a lot easier to pick up the language than you think.
Yeah, it's Russian's a tough language, but
It
just takes time. Got a tutor.
I heard that you can never become fluent in Russian like a native speaker, just due to how complex the grammatical structures are. So you could probably communicate with everyone pretty well, but you won't be able to like fully understand Russian and speak full Russian, because they have like so many forms for everything, right?
There's like 9 conjugations for every verb, like 6 in the present and then 3 in the past and the future. But I do know there's this one dude who's got a YouTube channel. He's like an American black dude who speaks unbelievable Russian, like better than any Russian speaker. And so like whenever my girlfriend showed it to me, and whenever she shows that to other people, everyone's like blown away. Like, what the fuck, this guy speaks unbelievable. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe not some of the nuances or the cultural stuff or the slang that you're talking about, but yeah, if you put in enough time, you can get there. But yeah, for me, I've been learning for 3 years, and I'm like maybe a 5 or 6 year old. So it's fucking hard. But I'm an idiot when it comes to language. I don't know. My brain just doesn't get it as easily as other things, I guess.
Yeah. I'm so fascinated by people who you're definitely a guy who wants to optimize life, right? And like how you chose to like leave the game, so quote unquote. That's way more fascinating to me than just learning like some game stuff, because anyone can approach a girl, anyone can basically get laid. But it's like, how do you ultimately have it all, like with the fucking girl of your dreams, basically? And it's really nice to hear that you want to have kids, because dude, so many people get in the game, you talk to them and they don't want kids. They have no plans to have kids. And it's just like, so like, it's like you're practicing so much to do something that you're never going to actually fully do, which is like reproduce with someone.
That's a good point. It's like you're practicing all this to fuck. And what's the point of fucking? Well, it's to reproduce. So
I guess it's fun in the moment, but like, long term, when I'm 65, I'm definitely not going to be out gaming or something,
Yeah, I feel bad for those guys that are doing that. You can just see, like, I don't know, you can never really know for sure, but they just don't like these older guys that are chasing pussy, and like that's kind of all they have. it just can't be that fulfilling of a life.
Dude, I want to give it up, and I'm 27.
Yeah. It's
People,
I mean, when
people my
old,
age throughout history would have already had like grandchildren or something, maybe
Oh,
not
yeah.
that extreme, but it's like people used to get married when they're 15.
totally. I look at my grandpa, both my grandparents, my dad, and they're like, they just seem very content. They've got their family around, they have their kids. Like,
Yeah.
nothing is better than if you have if you have a cool wife and you raise your kids, they're gonna be just like you, and you probably want to hang out with people like you, right? And that's like basically people find friends to find like a family. Like, once you kind of leave your family and go to university or college, whatever, like your friends become your family, and then at some point you want to start a family, and that family is going to be pretty fucking dope because it's going to be little yous, and then you get to hang out with those people all day. Like, that sounds good to me. Otherwise,
Yeah, you're like creating a dynasty.
yeah, and
One way
you're
to think about it.
totally, and it's like, how do you want to spend the time, when you're older, right? Because like, you're not, if you got the money situation handled and you've got, you have decent health and everything's good, it's like you just want to spend your time around people you enjoy spending time with.
Yeah, I literally do not get people to say like they're smart, cool, like successful people who never want to have children. And I think the exact same thing. It's like the idea of being a 55-year-old man, unmarried, single, with no kids. That sounds so depressing to me. I literally I can't even like hold it too much in my mind.
Yeah, man, it's like, what the fuck would you do? Like, even if you're like so focused on making money, or if your purpose is like changing the world and putting a man on Mars or whatever, even if you got that shit going on, like, you still want people to share that with. You still want a partner by your side, especially like if you get sick or, your health deteriorates. If you're just like alone, or you're like hoping your wingman buddy who you pick up girls with on your yacht is going to give a fuck about you, like, I don't think so. You're in for like a really shitty end of life experience by doing that shit.
Yep. Yeah, and that's like a good framework to not regret things. The regret minimization framework. You just look at your life when you're 80 and think like, what would I have done differently?
Yeah.
Cool, man. I think that's a good note to leave it off.
For sure. Yeah. I appreciate the questions. These are great. Good shit.
Yeah, dude. I'm like that. There's like one quiz. It's a hexagon. This is the most science-backed one. It's called hexagon.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like 5 out of 5 in inquisitiveness on that. So I could ask you questions until the end of time. But yeah, we gotta wrap it at a certain point.
Yeah, man. We'll have to do it again. It's been fun.
Like, comment, subscribe, share with your mom, share with your dad.
Thanks for listening. If you want more, go to innerconfidence.com and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for the latest episodes.